What is going on, trainers? DrumVillain here, bringing you some more Pokemon Go PvP content. And before we get started, I just wanted to quickly share this with you guys that I got super lucky during Fashion Week and actually pulled a Shundo Absol with the sunglasses. My first perfect Absol, and it happened to be shiny. Cannot believe it. And it was a wild perfect Absol as well. Absolutely crazy. Now, today we're going to be talking about the Evolution Cup, which, if you're not familiar, is in the Great League format, and you can only use Pokemon that have already evolved once and can still evolve again. So only the mid-stage of 3-tier evolution families, picks like Charmeleon, Ivysaur, Haunter, things like that. And this creates quite an interesting meta in the Great League in general. Everything's pretty squishy in this league, and there are a few Pokemon that really rise up and dominate this kind of meta very heavily. The biggest of all being Vigoroth. It is regarded as the best safe swap overall for this meta. Having access to counter, body slam, bulldoze, brick break, it gives it fantastically versatile coverage. Overall, it's very difficult to deal with for a lot of picks in general. In this meta, there isn't really any fairy types that prevalent to resist that counter damage. Even the ghost types have to worry about the bulldoze that can be coming through. So I wanted to try putting a team together that every Pokemon on the team can kind of handle Vigoroth. And not only that, but still be a fairly balanced team in general to be able to hang with the rest of the Pokemon that are quite strong and prevalent in this cup in general. So this is the team I've come up with. I've used it for a few sets and it's gone pretty well. I've been going positive in all my sets. I've had a bunch of draws. I think I've had 4 ties today, which is absolutely crazy. You tend to see like a draw maybe every few days or something, depending on the league you're in. So to have that many ties is kind of crazy. But still, subscribe if you're new and let's take a look at the team. On the lead, we've got Haunter. Haunter was originally one of the scariest safe swaps in the Great League in general in the early seasons, thanks to its amazing energy generation, amazing damage output, and very, very threatening coverage in charge moves. We're running Ice Punch and Shadow Balls. The Ice Punch to hit Vigoroth for neutral, and Shadow Ball to hit everything else like a truck. And it does triple resist the counters and double resist the body slam. Just got to watch out for that bulldoze from a Vigoroth in general. On the safe swap position, we've got Shadow Dragonair. Now, you can use a regular Dragonair, but the Shadow gives you much more oppressive Dragon Breath damage output. And Dragonair and Vigoroth's matchup is close, but ahead on energy. If you're using Dragonair as a safe swap, you should be able to take that matchup in general. And also fantastic coverage with the recent access to Body Slam and now Aqua Tail as well, just to cover all your bases there. And finally, in the back, closing out our matches, we have got Hakamo. Now, Hakamo's a little bit more inaccessible in general, but this fighting dragon type means it can deal with Vigoroth very easily. The big break is going to hit for super effective damage. You can survive one body slam very, very comfortably. And again, there's not many things resisting that dragon damage. And this team also covers its bases quite well, because if you run Dragonair as a safe swap and you do happen to bait out the one fairy that you're going to run into, running this team, then you can deal with it there. Haunter can handle it, and then Hakamo is free in the back to wreak havoc. Now, originally I built this team with GOLBAT on the lead instead of Haunter to have better coverage against any potential fairy type that might be out there. And you know what happened? You know what I didn't think about? Do you know what I saw in the first matchup running GOLBAT on this line? What are we weak to? Of course, ice. Super weak to ice, nothing we can do. I was like, oh yeah, of course, silly me, and put Haunter on the lead instead after. Now, I wasn't super experienced with some of these matchups, so it did take me a few tries over to get used to how to play some situations. But the first matchup we've got here is against a Shadow Magneton lead. Now, Shadow Magneton's going to resist the Ice Punch, but look at how much damage those Shadow Claws are doing. I'm going to build it to the Shadow Ball, throw an Ice Punch, and hopefully get a shield. But even if they don't shield this, which that's a visual bug, they did actually shield that move. But I'm pretty sure that Ice Punch would have got them very low if not knocked them out, just because Magneton is so squishy in general. And we know they'll make it to another Magnet Bomb before we found them down. They did overcharge on energy. So I'm going to throw another one and force a second shield if they want to throw another charge move at us. We're going to let this go and farm down with Hakamo and just see what they've got in the back. So we're going to Hakamo. They swap straight out into the Shadow GOLBAT. And GOLBAT in general is one of the best answers to Vigoroth in this cup. In fact, I think it is straight up the best answer to Vigoroth in this cup in general. So you're going to see a lot of GOLBATs in this cup. Be prepared to deal with them. The main thing about GOLBAT is that you can survive a Poison Fang. If they throw 5 wing attacks, then it's going to be a Poison Fang and isn't worth a shield in most situations, but it will give you that defense debuff that you've got to stay on top of to not get overrun by that wing attack damage. So the opponent's going to surrender. They must have just been weak to one shield Dragonair in the back. No idea what they had, but let's jump into the next matchup. And on the lead in this game, we've got Golbat. And like I said, you're going to see a lot of these. You'll see them on the lead, you're going to see them in the back. And the good thing about Haunter in this matchup is that the Ice Punch is going to hit them very, very hard. Doesn't quite one-shot them, but gets them within Shadow Claw down range. And if they only throw 5 wing attacks and then throw, it's going to be a Poison Fang. You'll double resist it, so you can just let it go completely. And they actually swap out into a Zweilous to try and, I don't know if they're going to try to snipe us down or what, but we've got so much energy. We've got an Ice Punch, which would decimate Zweilous if it went through. So we're able to force a shield out of them. And now we're going to bring in Dragonair and just have a Dragon Breath match off. Now, Zweilous does beat Dragonair. In a raw Dragon Breath down fight, Zweilous will beat Dragonair. But because we were slightly ahead on health, Dragonair was able to get them down first. So we're going to let Dragonair go down to that Poison Fang. We don't want to spend our last shield. We're going to bring in Hakamo, and there's the Vigoroth. We've got one Dragon Tail ahead of energy. They've got a shield. We've got a shield. Let's see how this plays out. So we're going to throw the Brick Break. They will survive this if they let it go through, which they do, but it does put them in Dragon Tail down range. So if they'd have shielded it, we could throw another Brick Break at this point and still get them down, and we would survive this Body Slam. You can just survive one. They got quite a bit of energy, so we swapped to Haunter to force them to throw or try and farm down, which they can't. So we're going to Shadow Claw them down and take the win. GG. Now, if you want to know how not to play this team specifically, this match is a bit of a lesson to be learned. We get Piloswine on the lead. Obviously terrible for our dragons in the back, but also the Dragon Breath, Dragon Tails, Brick Breaks. We're not doomed against a Piloswine with the dragons. We can hold our own in that space, and Aqua Tail from Dragonair would annihilate Piloswine, but they swap out into a Vigoroth, and ahead on energy as a safe swap, Hakamo loses the 0 shield against Vigoroth because they will get to the second Body Slam before you get to a second Brick Break or Dragon Tail down. We're going to choose to let this go and probably come in with Haunter and Shadow Claw down, which is a little bit optimistic because they are going to double resist it, and if they throw a Body Slam, I underestimate as well just how hard a double resisted Body Slam still hits Haunter because it's very, very glassy. Look at we're at 100 energy here. We're wasting energy for these Shadow Claws. We should have just thrown an Ice Punch fairly quickly and saved enough energy for a Shadow Ball still to throw at this Piloswine, but instead we're very, very low, and those Powder Snows are going to take us down very quick. So we're actually going to be struggling here and depending entirely on Dragonair to round out this matchup. We have to shield up an Avalanche because we feel like Haunter's got enough energy to be worth saving onto. They swap into Golbat, we throw a Shadow Ball instead of an Ice Punch. Ice Punch would have been completely fine, but I don't think it would have made or braked much difference in this game. And now we're in a bit of a tough spot because Golbat in the end game can start racking up those Poison Fang debuffs and really start putting work in. We're just going for, at first I'm thinking I need to Dragon Breath down, which is impossible from this point, and then throw a move at the Mamoswine, Piloswine even. But I realise I need 2 charge moves. I need 2 stored up, I need 2 Aqua Tails, one to throw here, one to throw at the Piloswine straight away, and I'm 1 Dragon Breath short. I misjudge how much energy I've got, and we're not going to be able to take them out. If we'd have thrown 1 more Dragon Breath against the Golbat, we'd have been able to Aqua Tail both and maybe take that win. So very, very close game despite some misplays. And also, if someone swaps into a Vigoroth against your Haunter, I recommend you throw an Ice Punch first to either soften it up or get a shield out of them and put you in a much better position to control switch advantage for the rest of the game. Now, this next matchup, the opponent makes it interesting with a Metang on the lead, one of the few steel types that actually qualifies for this cup in general. It's got Metal Claw, Psy Shock, so interesting coverage, not the greatest moveset in general. They're going to swap and try and catch what I'm presuming is a Ghost move on Golbat. We throw an Ice Punch for big damage, farm down with Hakamo, and now we've got Brick Breaks to dump into this Metang and put some pressure on. Now, if they throw a Psy Shock, it is going to one-shot us because we are part fighting type, which is the one drawback. A little bit of Hakamo, it means you're weak to the wing attacks from Golbat, as well as any psychic damage that you come across, although there isn't much psychic damage in general in this cup. So, 2 shields left apiece. What's in the back for their team? It's a Porygon 2, which I think would be an interesting pick, but the meta is quite heavily dominated by Vigoroth, as where the point of this video is really. And so something like Porygon 2 is going to get smashed to pieces by Vigoroth, so I can see it struggling a little bit in a lot of matchups. And obviously it can't farm Haunter down because that lock-on is only hitting for 1 damage a turn. So we're just going to do what work we can, not shield anything, and then just bring in the Dragonair to Dragon Breath down. We're not going to risk that this is a nuke move, and it is a Hyper Beam, so that was a Hail Mary shot on their part. We would have survived a tri-attack, but absolutely wouldn't survive a stab Hyper Beam. And we're going to Dragon Breath them down, take the win. It's going to be a GG. So including the first matchup mess up of putting Golbat on the lead and misjudging the ice, we managed to take 3 out of 5, but I call it 3 out of 4 really because that's with the actual team here with Haunter on the lead, which I'm pretty happy with in general. Now if you're looking for some versatility with this team, because it is very squishy and Hakamo being the bulkiest thing on the team is quite hard to obtain, you can run Vigoroth instead of Hakamo or Machoke, but you better hope you deal with a Golbat before you get locked against one in the back, because you're going to be absolutely screwed against a Golbat with Machoke or Vigoroth. Right, the Nightmare lead. We knew someone would bring a Chansey into this cup. Level 50 XL Chansey is disgusting. They had to nerf Pound specifically just to keep this thing under control because it's so broken. It now has Zen Headbutt, which is a terrible move but suits it better than Pound since to the nerf, and it means it's doing super effective fast move damage against Haunter and against Hakamo on our team. So we have to have the dragons to deal with this thing, otherwise we're absolutely screwed. The opponent's going to take a bit of damage from Dragonair and then actually swap out into their own Hakamo, which I love to see. You know, I love seeing people using some spicy things like Hakamo here. And we're going to go ahead and try and go for an aggressive farm down with Haunter. We think we can make it before they get one more Dragon Claw off. It might be close, but we get it, which isn't too bad for us. We're trying to swap to Hakamo as fast as possible ourselves for if that Chansey comes back in, because although that Zen Headbutt damage is super effective, you can see that because Hakamo's got that reasonable bulk, it's really not adding up half as fast. And we're going to start throwing Brick Breaks, try and take this thing down. But you must be thinking in this matchup, looking at this, we're looking to be in a pretty bad spot. Haunter's pretty low on health. Dragonair got absolutely mincemeated between the Hakamo and Chansey. We've got a normal type which still has switch advantage against our Haunter, which isn't Vigoroth. So we're in a very bad spot in general, but there's the opponent's Vigoroth in the back. So we're going to just see what we can do here. We're going to take this body slam. We've got no choice but taking this body slam out of shields, get this next brick break off. Is the opponent going to let this go through? They are. They're going to commit their last shield. They're both their shields. They've still got 2 shields. Are we going to be able to win this match? And I tell you what, I was so impressed with the ending of this game, because look how much energy we've got on Haunter. We've got nearly 3 ice punches. So I'm going to throw one more fast move and then throw the ice punch, because Zen Headbutt is a 3-turn move, Shadow Claw is a 2-turn, which means we can throw one fast move and throw a charge move and only take 1 fast move's worth of damage in between. And we're going to go for another ice punch, force that last shield. No, we already forced the shields with 2 ice punches, and then we're going to just clutch it to a last brick break, take out the Chansey and take the win. When I started that match and after the Dragonair had been taken out by Hakamo, I thought I was doomed in that game. I thought there was nothing I could do, but I decided to play it through anyway, and I was super chuffed with how the team came together and pulled through and actually managed to take that win. Alright, next matchup, another Golbat lead. We really don't mind seeing this at all. They're going to swap straight out into a regular Magneton, which is much less threatening than the Shadow version because those Thunder Shocks aren't adding up half as fast. But the Magnet Bomb will still hit pretty hard. It's a deceptively hard hitting charge move, Magnet Bomb. It is strong. So don't sleep on that damage, and it is very spammy from the Magneton as well. We're just going to take one more move and then swap to Hakamo, because we figure we can survive a Magnet Bomb or a Discharge, whatever it decides to throw. It throws a Discharge for some reason, even though it's resisted. So we can take that very, very comfortably, and we're going to farm down entirely, because even though Magneton resists the Dragon Tail damage, it's pretty squishy. Dragon Tail hits pretty hard. So we come out with a nice big chunk of energy. So now we can start throwing some moves at this Golbat, see what they want to do. They're going to have to throw Poison Fang if they want to take us out first, otherwise we are going to farm them down entirely. And the good news here is that the Golbat hasn't got enough energy to threaten Haunter. It means we can just Shadow Claw it down, and it should just throw a Poison Fang, if it does throw a move at us. So we're just going to throw this Ice Punch at the Vigoroth, which has swapped in, because as we said, most teams are going to have Vigoroth. You better be prepared for it. And it is, honestly, everywhere. Then we've done the chip damage, so we can swap in our Dragonair, and we can just Dragon Breath down, really, at this point. We've forced the shield with the Aqua Tail, which is very, very nice. Doesn't matter which move you throw at this point, although in general, Body Slam is the slightly better move to throw if they're both hitting for neutral. We thought we might have made a misjudgment there and almost got farmed down with the counter. If it had have countered us down, we might have been a little bit screwed. We managed to get away with it. We're going to take the win, and that's going to be a GG. So against the general meta for this cup, which is things like Golbat, Vigoroth, and counters to Golbat and Vigoroth, this team's holding its own pretty well. In this game, Sealeo is a pick that I've not talked about yet, but Sealeo is a solid shout for this cup. The Powder Snow energy and damage is reasonable. He's got access to Body Slam that is really spammy. He can also throw Aurora Beam for good ice type coverage, good damage against things like Golbat and any ground types that might be around. We're just going to try and bait them with an Ice Punch, and we don't get the bait. We don't get the shield. That's insane. That's a very ballsy call by this trainer. So now I'm going to go for the Shadow Ball, and they shield it because of course they do. Nice and frustrating. We're going to let this go because we don't want to go down a shield. It is an Aurora Beam that's going to finish us off. So we're going to lose the one shield, but that's because we got baited with a Body Slam and they called our Ice Punch bait. And it's my bad, I shouldn't have baited really. We're calling this as a Body Slam and not an Aurora Beam, which is a brave call, but we get away with it. We get it pretty low, but we're hoping that they're weak to dragons in the back with having something like an ice type on the lead, but we are in a pretty bad spot by this point. A lot of damage has been done. Swap to Hakamo, and this is a difficult situation because they can Poison Fang us to debuff us, and then the last Pokemon in the back is going to have an easier time at dealing with this Hakamo. And there's the Vigoroth. So there might have been a shot at this game if we hadn't been debuffed by the Poison Fang, which Poison Fang always debuffs, it is guaranteed, but that debuff is really going to add up here and really screw us over, because even though we're going to shield this, they're going to be able to counter us down and then throw a move at the Dragonair and finish us off, and that's going to be pretty unfortunate for us. It's going to get them low as well, but we're not going to be able to Dragon Tail them down first because, as we said, we're debuffed. It's pretty unfortunate, and they survive with like 1 HP. They got the energy to throw. We can't quite snipe the Dragon Breath down in time. That's going to be a GG to this opponent. Now, if we'd have landed the Shadow Ball against the Sealeo early on and not tried to bait with Ice Punch, we'd have been in a much better position because Shadow Ball annihilates Sealeo. It's got some bulk, but not that much. Machoke lead in this game is very good for Haunter. You're going to be triple resisting all of Machoke's moves. There is nothing that Haunter has to worry about there. And the opponent's going to safe swap into a Dragonair, which we can respect. That's what we're doing, running Dragonair as a safe swap. We're going to force a shield with the Ice Punch and then swap to Hakamo. This means that we can Dragon Tail down entirely and have some energy to dump into the Machoke if it comes back in. I'm just going to get a last move off. If this is a Body Slam, it'll get us low, which it is. We've got a fair bit of energy here to chuck in, and we're still in a reasonable position, just making sure that Haunter is still lined up with the Machoke, because honestly, there's really not much it can do. It would need a lot of energy to threaten Haunter overall. And you see it's got that Legacy Karate Chop fast move as well, which recently got its energy generation buffed, but it's Machoke's general purpose in this cup is to deal with Vigoroth. You don't see Machoke used otherwise in the Great League, and that's because usually Machamp just outshines it so badly, having access to that Rock Slide. Now, I do misjudge that this Machoke is purified, so it throws Return, which I was not expecting, but Return just hits like an absolute truck, wipes us out. But once they see we've got Dragonair in the back and we're going for that Dragon Breath down, they just surrender. No idea what they've got in the back, but they must have realised that they couldn't win that game, and as I said before, it does happen a few times, people surrendering once they see Dragonair in the back, but can't complain too much really. Also, I'll tell you what guys, another thing I love about this cup is how fast the battles are. Some days I just like them to be shorter games where you can just grind out your matches a little bit quicker, and I don't know if it's just because this team's so glassy, but it definitely makes the games go by faster because you either lose quick or you win pretty quick. Next game we got Shadow Golbat on the lead, and as you can see here, they only threw 5 wing attacks. So you know what we're going to do? We'll let it go. It's Poison Fang. Can't be anything else. Double resisted. It's one of the few moves that Haunter can survive very comfortably, but now we're going to throw an Ice Punch and swap to Dragonair. We get a shield. Let's see what we bait out in the back. We bait out a Sealeo. Now, Sealeo in general is pretty bad news for dragons because ice damage, and dragons do hate that ice, but you see the Body Slam hits pretty hard and the Dragon Breath is adding up quickly. They've got to throw to take us out here, and we're just going to let it go. We don't mind. And now we're going to bring in Haunter again, I think, and go for a Shadow Claw down. We think this is Body Slam. It won't do much. It's double resisted. We can take it. But look, it still does a reasonable chunk, and we simultaneously KO, which is really bad because they've got a Golbat left. They can debuff our Hakamo for the rest of the game, and there's no way to clear off the defense drop. So this is a dangerous situation to be in. We'll let the first one go because we know there's going to be other charge moves coming through that the shield is more important for, and there's a Vigoroth in the back, which would be great news for us. Hakamo would be absolutely rubbing his hands together if we didn't get debuffed. If we'd have just saved the energy on Haunter, we had more than an Ice Punch's worth of energy. We were a little bit greedy for the farm down, and we should have just gone for an Ice Punch just to finish off the Sealeo and just make sure we got that extra bit of buffer to deal with that situation better. And you're going to see here, we're going to just get one more body slam through that we've got to shield. We're not going to be able to finish off the Golbat, and we're going to lose this game. Still pretty close. Actually, another simultaneous KO there. But the Golbat's still have on the opponent's team, so that's a loss for us there, and that's a GG. Now, I just want to show you guys very quickly why we do not bait. At least you shouldn't bait with a move that's really going to do nothing, because it's way too costly if they don't shield. Because we saw before, they didn't shield an Ice Punch from Haunter with a Sealeo, and that put us on the back foot quite heavily, and we lost switch advantage at the start of the game. But here we're just going to go straight for a Shadow Ball. They've baited us with Body Slam, but we're going to throw us before they get to an Aurora Beam. Bang! Sealeo's gone. They lose all that energy. We've got switch advantage, and we've got an Ice Punch loaded to throw at this Zweilous to get that shield back. Then we can swap straight to a Dragon, preserve the health on Haunter for whatever's in the back in case it's something scary for us to deal with and that we need to keep away from both of our Dragons. We can take a Body Slam from Zweilous very, very comfortably. There's the Vigoroth. We're going to go for Brick Break. We might get another one off here and actually force a shield out of him. And we actually get the shield with the first one, which is a very nice position for us to be in. We'll throw another Brick Break, do about 60% of their health here. Very nice chunk of damage. Not 60, sorry, it's more like 40%, but the Dragon Tails do add up. We're bringing in Haunter here because this Vigoroth got a lot of energy. So we're tempting them to throw Bulldoze, which they don't. They throw Body Slam, which doesn't knock us out, but they get a little bit of extra energy off us anyway. But we can survive this on Dragonair, no worries. We're going to save. No, we're going to keep this. Yeah, of course, there's Wireless used its energy through a Body Slam at Hakamo, so that's no worries at all. Just going to Dragon Breath down very quickly and take that win. No stress at all. Don't bait. Not if you're going to be double resisted. If it's going to cost you that heavily to fail a bait, like it does against Sealeo throwing an Ice Punch, it's just not worth doing. You might as well just go for the Shadow Ball. And worst case scenario, you get a shield out of them, and then you've got your Pokemon in the back can still do some work with the extra bit of space that you're going to get from them. Now, those are the only battles I'm going to talk to you guys about. I'm going to leave you with a few playing away just so you can see some more interesting matchups, see some more gameplay with the team and how it works. Some matchups where it does work, some where it doesn't. But I'm not going to be talking about it really. I'm going to leave it to you guys. Let me know down below what you think about the team in general, what you're thinking about this cup overall, any sleeper picks that you think are going under people's radar, they'd be interested to see some content on. I don't mind these different cups, but also I feel like this is one that we'll get sick of pretty quick because honestly, just about every team that I'm seeing has Golbat and has Vigoroth. So if you're wanting to core break, look for things that beat Golbat and Vigoroth. Picks like Haunter, telling you, it'll go pretty far, and maybe the meta will shift a bit later on in the week if people shift heavily to anti-meta. But honestly, I was really impressed with this team's performance overall. It could just hold its own so well, better than I expected. And honestly, I thought it was going to be too glassy. I thought I'm not going to be able to handle any matchups. I'm not going to be able to survive a charge move at all across the games, and it's just going to cost me too heavily in general. So I was really pleased to see it working out fairly positively with some unusual picks that I wasn't seeing other people using. So if you enjoyed the video, you enjoyed the team, drop a like down below. If you're already subscribed to the channel, you're an absolute legend, and I will catch all you guys next time.